Hey, how are you? Well, good. Well, thank you for setting up time. I know we've been going through the interview process, but I wanted to talk and to let you know that we have offered the role to another candidate and they've accepted. You can ask who, and I talked. They're fine. Yes. Well, okay. You thought they'd get it? No. No. Okay. First, let me ask you this. Feel free to talk. Do you want me just to listen, or do you want me to say anything as well? Because either is completely fine. Okay. No, I'm happy to. And that's completely normal. But I am also here, and I'm here now, and I'm also here if you are not ready to hear this. No, you need to pick me up. No, yes. So sometimes you may go into an interview process, and you may think, I don't know if I'm the most qualified for this, but like, first of all, you never know. And so I'm a big fan of always applying because you literally never know. And this wasn't a situation where it was, this is the candidate internally. Everyone knows it's going to be this person. And so why are we having this interview process at all? No. And what I love to do is talk about some of the things in the interview process that I think are very, very strong and will help you in other roles, and also to give an explanation of some of the things that I think will be helpful as you continue to grow here, to make sure that you're ready for those next roles. But no, it's not any job interview is a numbers game, and candidly, internally, it can at times be easier than externally because it's a smaller pool than like mass applying. I mean, yes. No, you can tell me. You can tell me if you've applied elsewhere. Like, this is not I don't want you to feel at any point that there's things that you have to hide. Because also my role isn't to like say something like, we went with another candidate, better luck next time. No. So when you apply externally, sometimes there might be 500, 1,000 people applying. But here, it's an internal application. And so in some ways, that can be harder because when you don't get it, you're here. And so feeling embarrassed is absolutely normal. And a lot of people will go through it in their career. I've certainly had that in my career where you're like, okay, this is it. And a natural feeling, just like you're saying, maybe, well, I wish I hadn't applied in the first place. Like, this is ridiculous. But going through an interview process can be helpful to also see what that's like. Because also we have other cross-functional managers who were part of that process who now... Yeah, you may not have known them before. And so I've gotten feedback from them across the board. Some of the feedback we got was like, wow, they're now like, you're not on their like radar screen. You're not like a blip on a dashboard, but they're like, I liked a lot of the attributes. And I think this person will be a great manager in the future. And so that can absolutely give you a leg up in the next, as future roles happen. Yeah. Well, that's exactly. Sometimes it's looking of like, oh, I really like this department. I didn't know what they did, as they have. Yes, and there are leaders that had said, like, as we think about have openings here, if they ever want to do some cross-functional training to learn more about our department, I was really impressed. And so, I mean, some of this is just talking it out, and I'm here for you today. I'm here for you future days. But understanding some of the feedback was, you've just taken on, just starting to learn, because even still some of the fundamentals of this role. And so it can be hard to step into a manager role if you don't have as much time and experience in those. And I know we talked about this in the interview process. And so I think having more time in that role, understanding it. And so as I think about it, some things that may be helpful is, as you're doing that, getting you involved in training in some of the areas that you'd first started with. But if that's something that you'd be interested in, because that can also give you a glimpse into management. I know you haven't managed before, but it can give you a glimpse into management, just some of the things of like talking and teaching and learning from other different people's perspectives. Yeah. Well, in any interview as well, rarely is there going to be one interview that it is like make or break. Yes, that things can absolutely happen, and I can literally in my mind think of things that could cause an interview to be no-go. But it wasn't. And I know that you felt like you just didn't vibe with that person. And I think, part of it is, as I go through my career, there's people like I feel like I can communicate with. There's other people that I think I don't know if they even know what I do. And so I started looking at that as like, okay, it's instead of a frustration, more of like an opportunity. Like, okay, how can I communicate and get to know this person? And some of it's asking questions. I talk about I know I've talked with our team about using things like ChatGPT. It's like I've entered prompts of things like, if there's another leader that I just, like when I'm talking, I feel like they're just like, they think that they think that I'm like unintelligent. Like I literally have used that as a prompt. And so the ChatGPT, first of all, will be like, oh, you're very smart. But but it will give you sometimes those techniques that in the moment it can help you to think differently. But don't just having one interview that didn't go the way you want, like that can happen. But stop and thinking like, okay, so what happened in that instance? In some of those questions. So what I'd be happy to do is to talk through it. And I know, in the moment you'd said like you weren't sure how it went, but thinking about some of those questions you got, let's do it. Let's set up some time and go through and practice those. And I can give you feedback in the moment, like a candid feedback, but also just help you to think through that. Okay. But no, the feelings of awkwardness I totally get. But that's going to happen when you put yourself out there. And it's always going to be a numbers game. Things aren't going to be guaranteed. And so it can make it then down the road, you likely will feel a lot more comfortable the next round that there's interviews, the next role that there is. Have a sense of of your time and role, more of a sense of it. But that feeling of embarrassment, like people aren't going to look, and people want to see you succeed. And that's why the feedback I got of people saying like, oh, I'd be happy to like have them work cross-functionally on some projects. That's one of the good things that can come out of an interview. Like I said, leading some training sessions to see if that's something that you like doing. And let's talk about what we can take off your plate so you're not just doing all your normal work and then adding some trainings. Like, I don't want to do that either. So we can talk about what we can move around so that you can have time and work on that. But yeah, yes. And so I agree. I do think they will be a great manager for the team, and I think it is very commendable to hear you say that, because I know a lot of people in the moment. I've definitely had times where I would have taken me some time to be like, yes, this will be a good person in the role. Maybe I realized it later, but and I think you're right. And we certainly feel that way, but I also think you will, and I think you'll work well together in their role. They will talk to you. They will be the manager, and I know you all have worked together. But their job is to help you in your role. But yeah, I think totally, and thinking about how you want to have that conversation, but just knowing I want to help you in whatever those goals look like. I think it's great to interview. And as you think about other opportunities, let's talk about them. I know there are people that in their roles, they can't apply for other jobs. They can't tell their manager, or they don't want to, when they're applying for roles. And I know I'm the head of the department, and so maybe even more so, you may think, well, I don't want to tell them that I'm interested in things. But anytime, if it's internally, on another team internally, even if it's something externally, my job is to try to help create those opportunities and make it an environment that you can stay and be successful and succeed and really and do, we can figure those things out. That's one of the things that's really important to me. But most of all, it's that you go and are able to do what you want to do. And if there's ever an opportunity that you're like, this is it, then like, I want to help support you, but I'd love to talk about what we can do here. And I know taking time to process that and really think through it, but going through that interview process, and I'm happy to keep up the conversation. Of course. Yeah, I do. I do think there will be some more roles. Again, we don't have a timeline, so there's nothing now I can say. But look at least on the careers page as well, and I'll talk to some of the other teams, and just that's a great question of like what roles may be coming open that other people on the team could and should think about, and also what are some cross-functional projects. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, and I'm glad. But yeah, we'll keep up the conversation.